You are listening to the Women's Gut Health Podcast. I'm Molly, integrative functional dietitian, ex-chef, and gut health expert. If you're struggling with constipation, diarrhea, or bloating, I know exactly how you feel because I've had Crohn's disease for almost 30 years. Each week, we'll dive into symptoms, trends, recipes, and navigate the complex landscape of women's health together, all based on scientific evidence, but in a way that makes sense. Ready to understand your body? Good. Let's go. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Women's Gut Health.
Welcome, welcome.
All right. So today we are focusing on common hormone symptoms that involve basically common hormone symptoms that are related to the gut. So stuff like acne, constipation, anxiety, maybe a little insomnia. How does that sound?
That sounds lovely. Let's do it.
Okay, sweet. First and foremost, best thing you ate this week?
Oh my gosh. So my children did not love it, but I loved it. My roommate loved it. My partner loved it. I'm all about trying to find something healthy that's really easy and quick to make. And the, kind of natural grocery store next to us carries a pre-made Tom Kha broth, which you think might be kind of not so great, but it is so good. There's just enough lime, just enough coconut, yummy chicken flavor, and we just like sauteed up some veggies, put some chicken in there, and we ate it for like 3 days. We cooked or served it over some of those really, really thin, like hair, like rice noodles, brown rice noodles. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And it's freezing balls here right now. So it was like the perfect, warm, yummy meal. It was so good. What about you?
Best thing I ate was definitely there is by Scott's parents' house this Thai restaurant. Oh, weird. We're
Ooh.
both Thai.
Oh, both Thai
Oh my
today.
goodness. And they actually
Kapunka.
had a crispy duck. And normally I don't get fried stuff. Crispy duck, as you may or may not know, is a deep fried duck.
Oh,
So Scott got it,
dang.
but I ate a bunch of it because it was so good.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
I mean, what could be better than that? And that restaurant is
Yeah.
so good. So that was wonderful. That was our night before Thanksgiving date night that we had.
Oh,
Yeah.
yay. And you didn't have to like burn down the house to make like a deep fried turkey or anything. You just went and had the duck.
Those turkey
Those
videos,
reels
oh
are my
my
favorite.
gosh, they're
I
so
just
good.
die every time.
Our local fire department did one. It's just they
Oh,
have the stick. I mean, I was a chef for my whole life. They have the stick.
yeah.
You can slowly lower it in, but it's like they slowly lower it to the oil and then they just drop it.
Then they
Like
just
you're
plop it.
supposed to
Yeah.
keep going slow.
So
Oh my
funny.
gosh, they're the best.
Yes, those were great.
Okay, what about your post?
Oh,
Something you saw on the
so
internet that made you think.
so the post that I came across was so funny. I was dying. This is from cortisol fight or flight.
Mm.
And it's rule number 72. When your wife is going through perimenopause, do not clink your spoon. Also, do not chew loud, snore, or even breathe. Because I have this like methasomia, I think, or whatever it is, when you just literally your blood starts to boil when people chew around you.
Mm.
It's a thing. It's like an
Mm-hmm.
actual disorder. I didn't even realize it was until people were like, "Do you have mental or whatever?" And I'm like, I guess so, because I'm not choosing to, but I want to punch you in the face when I can hear you making chewing sounds. Um, and it just really seems to be heightened when my tolerance level with my estrogen fluctuating is very low. My tolerance for it is very low. If you ask
Mm.
my partner, he'd be like, "We are constantly trying to figure out how we can eat a meal together." Like it's so
Yeah.
bad right now. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, it's one of those things you hit when I guess it is one of the things that's exacerbated with perimenopause.
One of the
At
many
least for me,
things.
it is. Yes, yes, but no chewing, no breathing, no clinking your spoon.
Okay. Yeah, pass it along. Mine is not related to gut health, but I'll make it related to gut health. So basically, there's this woman on TikTok, and she does this thing called, well, I guess there's a lot of people who do this, but they're kind of like de-influencing. I don't know if you've seen any of these, but it's like, you do not need a pop of burgundy. You do not need a new aloe sweatshirt. It's just like really interesting, like point of view because you'll be like scrolling along and there's like this time of year, especially it's the winter sale, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And people are like, oh my gosh, color of the season and that sort of thing. And I have just been like really into my lower like consumption overall. So like lower plastic and lower kind of junk and like lower whatever it is, just kind of simplifying, I guess is the word that I
Yeah,
want to use.
great.
And
Yes.
so it was so interesting to me because it's like, then I see, obviously, I get all the ads for all the supplements and everything because they think that's what I want, but really I'm just doing research. And it's so interesting because, they do make it sound like, oh, well, this Black Friday sale is going to heal your gut. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to just let everyone know that no Black Friday sale can actually heal your gut. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer when I say that.
I
It's
know.
not like, oh, well, you have to work with us or you never, that's not the point of the story. It really is
No.
if there was one pill or two pills that you could combine without doing anything else, without having to cook anything or do any dishes or move your body at all or work on any of
Mhm.
the other stuff that's going on, like in conjunction with
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
symptoms you're having, then obviously we would definitely be affiliates, right? Like we would be making money
Yeah.
from that. Like nobody is wanting to gatekeep some secret supplement that will actually heal your gut. Like, believe me,
Yes. Yes.
right?
That's very true. Yes, it's always a complicated picture. I get so annoyed, and especially in, with Supercube, the fact that the long-term benefits really provide that like hormone quote unquote balancing. But it's still, there's nothing that is a quick fix. There's just nothing. I mean, you can even take hormone replacement therapy and that will increase the amount of hormones that you have, but that doesn't mean that systemically your body's just going to be like, okay, great, now I'm back in the game and everything's like totally dialed. And even though people think that's even kind of a be all end all, is when you start getting some hormones in you.
Well,
Not
first
the
of all,
case.
I'm
It's
on hormone
always a
replacement
complicated
therapy,
picture.
and it took
Yeah.
12 weeks at least to even kick in. So that
Yeah.
to me is not a quick fix either.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, absolutely. And
Exactly.
like those hormones, are not, then you have to make sure everything's balanced and you have to keep, finessing and finagling and changing and exploring and testing to make sure that, because it's not like, oh, let me do this one thing and that's my routine for the rest of my life. Like your body is not the same for the rest of your life.
No. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can take that concept to the gut. You can take it to blood sugar balance, like people with diabetes who just rely on their insulin pump to just
Hmm.
constantly pump out stuff and then eat whichever way they want. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to fix. Sure, you have insulin to deal with what you're dealing now because you don't produce any yourself, but that doesn't mean systemically that things are going to be a perfect cascade for health. Same with your thyroid, just because you're taking levothyroxine or Synthroid, that doesn't mean that your thyroid's going to behave appropriately. There's so many streams up and down, or so many factors up and downstream. Yeah, so I hear that. I love that people are approaching, the Black Friday or whatever. It's a good time. I guess it's a great time to put that stuff out there. Like you don't have to buy every sale ever. Although that, man, coming from an entrepreneurial perspective, it's fully the time which we actually get to, Black Friday and Cyber
Oh,
Monday and the
yeah.
holidays and everything are a way in which businesses actually stay alive to be able to be around. So consume wisely, spend
Yes.
money, but consume wisely.
Well, and like, for me, if it's something that I'm only going to buy on sale, then it's then
Mm-hmm.
it's not really something I need, right? So that is more my point. Like for you, you had an awesome sale this weekend. Unfortunately, it will be over when this podcast comes out, but I'm sure that you have sales occasionally throughout the year. And
Yeah.
that, like your product, I will buy at any time, at any price. So obviously that is something different. And I think that there's something to be said for something that's actually helping to support you but that doesn't tout itself as a cure-all. Like your product, the word support is all over
Mhm.
with your marketing,
Mhm.
and support is something
Mhm.
that we can get behind 365 days a year. I think
Mhm.
when there's something on this huge super flash sale that's making all these, big claims,
Yeah.
about actually, like this is all you need for the rest of your life to make it you feel better again. That's a
Yeah.
different story. But the way that you educate your customer and the way that Supercube really does, you try it for literally 5 days and it completely changes the way that coffee affects you. And it really
Mhm.
just has a lot. I mean, it's incredible to me how much better I feel when I use Supercube. So I think that is a tricky situation. And last year I did a Cyber Monday like launch last year. I get it, but I think there's a difference between seeing something that you're already in the market for and then
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
getting a pop of Burgundy or a $60 probiotic that's marked down to 54.95.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. Don't go and just be like, "Hmm, what's out there?"
Right.
Like I'll just be totally influenced whatever's out there as opposed to sitting down and being like, "What do I really need in my life right now that I could take advantage of finding a sale for?" And yeah, yeah, great. Sorry, I was going to go off on how
I
sales
know.
are sometimes can be so deceiving. I had just a quick little sidebar. I was shopping for a couch for upstairs and I found it like 2 weeks before Black Friday for like $900. And then I went back on to see what the sale would be for Black Friday, and it was marked up to $1,300.
What?
Yes. I was like, wait a second. I took screenshots of them both. I was like, this is ridiculous. They like put it up to oh, and then they put it on sale to 1,200. I was like, this is so deceiving. So deceiving.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's many ways in which, marketing does a really great job. But if you are trying to be a healthy consumer, you got to cut out the noise. No burgundy.
And we know Papa Burgundy, and every year there's these shoes. Oh my God, and they're so nice. Like, but every year I'm like, I literally have not been to a Christmas party my entire life. Like, I don't go to a ton of Christmas parties anyway. Maybe
Yeah.
like Scott's work will have one, but that's it. It's not. So anyway, um, but I do think overdoing it and getting caught up in that kind of nervous system hoopla
Yeah.
can do more damage. So, with that being said, let's roll into the hormones and talk about how that can be a big part of it here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we talk about common symptoms, right? Like, and we talk about hormones, it basically is systemic, right? Like we have estrogen receptors on all of our cells, your brain, your heart, your uterus, your fascia, your connective tissue, your bones, everything you need estrogen for, especially the big bangers like your heart and bones and things, they all have estrogen receptors on them, at a macro level. And then at a micro level, there's so many things going on in between the gut and your hormones and how they interact and keep balance within the body. That if that is a symphony that isn't playing out in a beautiful sound, then you're going to have, maybe some symptom pictures.
Hmm.
And today we decided to talk a little bit about acne, constipation, and anxiety. So, what comes up for you when you think about acne and, hormone imbalance? When we think about like the basics there, like it's the worst. I hate it when I get that one pimple right around my like ovulation and I'm just like, seriously, I am a 48-year-old woman.
Hmm.
What am I doing with a pimple on my who I eat really well, I exercise, I like do all the things.
Hmm.
And yet here I have this beautiful pimple on my chin, the very common area to get hormonal acne.
Yes, absolutely.
So annoying.
Yeah. So,
I mean, what am I,
as
16
someone,
again? This is gross.
I know it is, it's not good. So I've always been an acne prone person. I think that there's a link between Crohn's disease and acne. I can't like find a ton of research on it, but I've definitely heard this mentioned several times.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the biggest link for me that I think of when I think of the gut and I think of acne, obviously we're talking about, maybe there is some imbalance, like kind of in general, that is something is causing a leaky gut. Now we all have some leak to our gut or intestinal permeability. So leaky
Mm-hmm.
gut really means increased intestinal permeability because we want things to go in and out. And we talk about this all the time and we'll always talk about it. But when something leaks out, when we have larger spaces in between the cells in our intestines, more bigger things can leak out. And some of those things can trigger an inflammatory response in the skin. And food and poop basically can come in and out of your intestines when they do have those larger spaces, and that can definitely cause acne. Um, so that's one thing. Of course, estrogen, the gut
Mm-hmm.
microbiome kind of directs some of the estrogen situation, right? And so that's part of it. And then insulin, so that more has to do with food. But insulin is the key that unlocks your cells and lets carbohydrates in. All carbohydrates eventually turn to sugar. And when we eat any carbohydrate, it goes into our blood and then it needs to go into our cell, but it needs that insulin to unlock it, to let it in. Now if there is, we'll talk about this another day, definitely adding it to the list, blood sugar. But essentially, if
Mm-hmm.
we don't have a balanced blood sugar, so for whatever reason, let's say all we had first thing in the morning was a cup of coffee with some of non-dairy creamer that was pumpkin spice and sugar, and then we had a bagel, and there wasn't any protein involved, there wasn't any super cube involved, there were no like healthy fats or anything like that. The first thing in the morning, then you're spiking that blood sugar. So if you and then let's say you have a salad with chicken for lunch, so that's no carbohydrates. So now, and then at night you have a baked potato and a piece of chicken. That's a pretty normal thing for people to have in a day. And
Yeah.
so basically what
Yeah.
we've done is bottom out our blood sugar all day long and then spike it back up at night. And when we do that, insulin cannot open. It's like that key, the guy who's opening the cell drops the keys or he's fumbling with the keys and he can't get the sugar
Mm-hmm.
in fast enough. So
Mm-hmm.
that causes our blood to have a lot of sugar or carb sugar in it, and that can stimulate oil gland production and make acne
Yeah.
worse.
Yes, and with that oil gland production, coming from a, like a hormone perspective, when in within our as a, a menstruating body, we have those four phases that we go through with our menstruation, and between that day 7 and 14, when we're kind of follicular to ovulation, we have a really big spike in estrogen. And that also spikes our testosterone. It's almost like those are the fuel to really get and warm up all those follicles to like release the eggs and get going. And with that surge, the sebaceous glands on the skin, they produce a lot more oil. And if you're in a body where you have any of the things that you just described, paired with more oil production, you're going to have a lot more acne
Hmm. Hmm.
just in general.
Right, right. Stress also can cause inflammation, which
Mhm.
acne can be, yes, clogged oil glands, overproduction of oil, but it can also be inflammatory. So, an inflammatory response that just happens to show up on your face. Um,
Yes.
and yeah,
And in my clinical experience, one of the things I've seen, and I'm pretty sure there's no research on this. This is just me seeing my patient population kind of present this way over 18 years. Is a lot of the time, like when you have acne and your body is in a state of inflammation, and you have this picture of, a little bit more of your gut lining is less, more permeable, I guess you'd say,
increase.
and or like a leaky gut, like increased permeability. Exactly. You have this like combination of pictures, is that
Hmm.
I feel like the body kind of gets conditioned to release, or what I would say in Chinese medicine, we're venting the heat. Like the skin is a way to release toxins, it's a way to detoxify, just like sweating and pooping and menstruation and snot. Like all those things are a way in which we get something out. I see people who are pretty hot and inflamed and maybe experiencing hormonal shifts, whatever might, maybe having a higher toxic load, that it's almost a way for their body to get it out. And it's created this pathway that quote unquote works for them, even though it doesn't, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this pattern or this picture. So I feel like as long as we're getting in and interrupting, finding where that physiology needs to get interrupted by looking at like each of the different areas in which your body is contributing to that pathway, that's where we get to find kind of that unwind. Like it's usually not one thing, it's usually that recipe. Even something with as simple as acne.
Mm-hmm. So basically, hormonal fluctuations, that's exactly right. And I hear you. I always thought, like, not always thought, but the more that I learned about hormones and heard about hormones, and I'm by no means a hormone expert,
Oh my gosh,
the more
so
that I
much to
kind
learn.
of thought, oh my gosh, the more that I kind of thought, well, is it just that your estrogen is too high or your testosterone is too high? But interestingly, it's really the fluctuation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
not necessarily, I mean, yes, if testosterone is too high, that's an androgen, and androgens drive that kind of male pattern baldness and some of the
Yeah, the
zits on
more
our chin. And at what point in our cycle is testosterone high? I wonder. It's going to be.
it's between 7 and 14, you get that big
Mm,
surge. So that's that
mm,
follicular stage when you're moving from follicular to ovulatory. It's almost like the
mm-hmm,
testosterone is a little bit of fire down there. Like it's really going to rev up the engines in order to do that huge release. It's like you're flipping a
mm,
towel and you need the egg, something to come out the end of it. You got that whoosh kind of going. You need that
mm,
egg to come out of that follicle. And
mm-hmm.
that's when I think the testosterone really is like the fire underneath it and gets it going.
Love it. Okay. Okay. So interesting, isn't it?
Yes. And I think it can be hormone, it can be gut, it can be stress. Um, but by the time it's made it to the skin, I think that's one thing to think about, is by the time it's made it to the skin, like all the way out to the edge, like the skin is a priority, right? Like we breathe with it, we interact with the environment with it, but really the organs that take precedent are like our heart and our liver and our, what I mean, like our actual lungs and all of that. Like they get energetic primary distribution, right? Like our skin is kind of not really the top of the list. So it's hard to treat sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
especially when things have
Yeah.
made it that far, it's not going to be, again, a pop of burgundy to like bring it back to where you want it. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And something else that I think is really interesting in terms, if we're talking about hormones and acne in this episode, and then in our next, we'll go into hormones and something else, is that dairy. So, one of the few things beside unstable blood sugar that is related to diet that they have said acne is related to. So there's not a lot of studies about diet and acne because nutrition is just a difficult thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it would be a tough one to do. I mean, you would really have to follow people for a long time and they would have to be pretty consistent with the diet and like how much of this and blah blah blah. So anyway, from what we know, obviously unstable blood sugar, but then the other thing is that dairy is a growth hormone. Like we've got to remember breast milk. Why
Yeah.
would you feed your child breast milk? To make it big and strong. To
Yeah.
make them big and strong. From what I hear about kids, that's no, I'm just kidding. So with the cow, that's the same thing. The cow is providing that milk technically for the baby to make
Mm-hmm.
the baby big and strong. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a growth hormone. Now, a growth hormone would kind of fall under the androgen category. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's it, and even if there aren't like antibiotics added or growth hormone added to the milk or the cow or whatever, it's something's going on in that
Yep.
substance to give the cow to for the baby.
Yep.
And so when we consume this, in the form of sweet cheese or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
we are consuming that growth hormone and that is disrupting our own natural hormones. So that's, dairy can definitely, not only that, but also then it's a higher fat. It
Yeah.
has, like milk sugar in it. So it could technically make your blood sugar a little unstable. And, I just think that there is a lot that can happen along the chain. So it's like, yes, hormones cause acne,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not just one hormone being high or low.
Correct. Correct. Always just being able to allow your body to be, or to set your body up for success to be able to respond to it. So maybe day 7 to
Yeah.
14, if you're maybe a little sensitive to dairy, and around day 7 to 14, what might be a good solution would be to just maybe have almond milk in the fridge that day, or cashew milk, or whatever, or that week. And if you normally suffer from cyclical acne during your ovulatory or follicular phase, maybe keep that in the fridge and see if it makes a difference.
Hmm.
Just don't overload the system, right? Like, give your body what it needs at that time.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So what else? Let's just talk about some things that we can do for hormonal acne, that someone could do to help to kind of make some progress. Does that sound good?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, hormonal acne, traditional Chinese medicine follows along with what you were just saying, especially dietarily. Like, one of the things that we love to do is have a healthy spleen and stomach, and make sure that you are rottening and ripening your food in the best way that you can and absorbing all of those nutrients. And some of the foods that traditional Chinese medicine say stunts the energetics of the spleen are: number one, dairy.
Mm,
It's very concentrated, it's very thick, it's dense, and
mm,
so it
mm,
requires more energy from the spleen to really break down. Or basically, the spleen energy is contributing to assisting the digestion and assimilating all of that food, and it's a little different than, say, a piece of cooked broccoli, right? Which is a great segue to,
mhm,
like, raw food. Remember, raw food is also a lot more energetically engaging. Ice water as opposed to cold water, sugar, dairy, or excuse me, sugar and alcohol. Those all tend to be damp, and either damp and cold. And those things will lead to the body having kind of this, like, excess of what we call dampness and heat. And that's what you see come to the skin. So, foods that are easy to digest are going to cause a lot less acne. So, yeah, in that sense.
wow, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's really interesting. Another thing we can do, we can work to reduce inflammation overall, remembering that some acne is inflammatory, not all of it, but some. So, how do we reduce inflammation? Well, number one, we want to eat plenty of brightly colored fruits and vegetables. If you have gut issues and you have a hard time with fiber, certainly cooking those things, having them in soups, putting them in a smoothie or something. There are lots of ways that you can make the fibers softer and more gentle for your body, starting small and working your way up, that kind of thing. Certainly, omega-3 fatty acids. Yes, you can supplement, but more importantly, would be to consume fatty fish, avocados, olives, nuts, and seeds. And again, if you have problems with nuts, you can do nut butter. You can do, hemp hearts are a really great uh, source, certainly avocados, that kind of thing. So, those would be ways to reduce inflammation, movement. So, if we are talking about toxins coming out, then sweating is a way to speed up that process, right? And when you
Mm-hmm.
sweat, then you're more likely to wash your face right after. So, that could be helpful to push toxins out of the skin, um, certainly. And so inflammation, sweating, movement,
I would
and
say
then balanced blood sugar.
yes, blood sugar is a huge one. I think blood sugar is probably the biggest one. Blood sugar, eating blood sugar stabilizing foods for your body in particular, I think is a really good way to go for acne. You're
And if
spending,
that sounds a little complicated and concerning, even what if we did 3 meals a day that were balanced meals
right.
with
Mm-hmm.
carbs, fat, and protein?
Mm-hmm.
And then if we wanted to know more for our body, how would we do that?
Yeah, I think you could probably do, I mean, one of the things I love to do with people, even when they're first trying Supercube, is I love to put a continuous glucose monitor on just to see what
Mm,
works for that person in particular. You could just eat your normal food that you normally would and just gather information about what does and doesn't work for you, and just slowly kind of replace those with things that might work better for you, things that are more stabilizing of a choice, and see that you're creating less inflammation by engaging less of that inflammatory response in your body with the fluctuation of sugar, for sure.
and is this like a NutriSense? So going online and doing a little like 1 month trial, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm super frugal. And so I usually just go to like the diabetic warehouse or something like that. And I find what I have used in the past is the Freestyle Libre, either 2 or 3, that has a little app that comes along with it. You just peel it off and stick it on your arm. Very easy to use. It lasts 2 weeks. And it's just going to get what is in your tissues. It's not going to get what's in your blood. So it's not a fully accurate reading, but it will show you trends, especially if you eat
Hmm.
normally over a couple of weeks, and just kind of log in there what you're eating and watch how your blood sugar responds to food and how it levels out again is a great way to see how your body responds to the foods you're already eating.
Yes. Wait, so you can get a Libre sensor from the diabetic warehouse without a prescription?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If
That's
you
pretty
aren't
cool.
diagnosed with diabetes 1, 2, 3, or this new one they're coming up with, you won't be able to get one for free. If you do have it, they'll cover it for you, but you would already probably be in that process.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that little tip. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Because I have not done it because I was like, I don't want to know that bad that I went and spent $350.
I know, right? That's so
Um,
true. And the other thing with acne too is maybe revisiting our lymph podcast that we did, because a lot of things that you'll find in keeping your lymph and your in relation to your digestion really operating smoothly has a lot to do with how inflammation is going to show up on your skin.
awesome. Very cool. Okay. Well, with that, we'll cut this episode. And then next time we can talk about
Maybe constipation and
hormones.
anxiety. We didn't
Hmm.
talk about those guys
Yes.
today. We need to do that. Maybe someone
Let's
was
talk
like,
about those
I'm
guys next
dying
week.
to know about those. Yes, let's do that.
Okay, cool. Thanks everyone for being here. And
Yes.
everything you need is in the show notes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being here today. We are Women's Gut Health on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok. In the show notes, you'll find the recipe share drive, citations to evidence supporting this topic, and fun links we discussed today. See you next week.